This is strange interviewing you, but...
Because I know you, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. I want you to describe your own music. If someone asked you to describe the music you write.
It's probably not for you.
Personally, or just for
No,
anyone?
to them. I don't know. People, here's the problem that I have, is that there's expectations about what music is going to do.
Yes.
And I guess in a sense I fear that my music rarely is going to accommodate those expectations. And that, on one hand, sounds fun, but on the other hand, it can, if there's 10 minutes where we've heard 5 notes, that seems either like I'm a charlatan, I'm lazy, I'm trying to fleece somebody out of an experience.
But then could there be an opportunity to shape that expectation so that you feel like there isn't that conflict?
Well, I suppose there's a legitimization that occurs when it's actually being performed by people, because then it becomes difficult to, on face value, reject it because somebody took the time to do it, so maybe I, as an audience member, should listen to it or experience it. Maybe. Okay. But also I've stopped caring about that.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you think about if someone's, not in terms of selling yourself or marketing, but I don't know, if someone either just you're not trying to prove something, but just trying to frame what you do.
So that phrase that I used as a title, actually, for a piece that Timepoint played last season,
yeah,
quiet, slow, boring, that's pretty accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, so very quiet, slow, nothing moves very fast, and boring. It's not going to be entertaining. So if you're looking for some sort of entertainment satiety, I'm going to disappoint the hell out of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's kind of like a lowered expectation thing? Because what if that is entertaining for someone? You can kind of be like, fine, but I didn't promise that.
Yeah. Well, I will say that I get extremely excited when I hear something that I like in that same vein. So if I hear that, okay, here's a story. I attended the first annual conference of the Deep Listening Institute, which was newly founded in Rensselaer, New York. That was 2013. And a lot of crackpots show up for that. And I love all of them to death. Some of these people are my friends. But
do you identify as that? Is that your community?
No, I don't know. I don't think I belong anywhere.
Okay.
It's like when I was about 16, I wanted to join the Communist Party. But then I thought, I wouldn't fit in. Yeah, because, I like some of these ideas, but I just, I also like Rosa Luxemburg, and they don't like her. So how can I reconcile them? But I think it's the same sort of thing. I like a lot of the things that happen there, and I don't care to identify as that group. But one of the seminars was a guy from, I want to say somewhere in Ohio, but I actually can't remember. And he had rigged up a series of small vibrating, what do you call them, like filaments on a giant steel plate. And then what happened is there was increasing feedback loops that caused a very audible vibration and pitch, and then spectrum of pitches that emerged from the plate. It took an incredibly long time, but we sat there in near silence for 45 minutes waiting for these feedback cycles to finally get somewhere, and it was thrilling. Like it was actually exciting. So if someone finds that entertaining, I guess perhaps that's a form of entertainment.
Then it seems like you are thinking of yourself as a listener when you're writing, perhaps. Do you see it as a personal exercise, then?
I would say that because I'm the one writing it, and in that writing process listening to it, even if it's not conscious, that's definitely infecting the process. Yes. Yeah.
Because I don't think that's always the case. Sometimes there's this divide between either imagining, like
okay.
you said, fulfilling someone else's expectations, or whether it's aspirational or...
That's an interesting point because, I don't actually use algorithms or really any technology.
Even about that. I think...
No, but I mean, something like that would at least allow a separation of, I don't know what it sounds like yet.
Right.
That I don't explore.
So you're saying even just through the process of writing and trying out these sounds, you feel like you are creator and listener simultaneously.
The closest I get is when I'm asking for certain multiphonics or some extended things where maybe I can only imagine to an extent what that's going to sound like. And usually I'm pleasantly surprised how much better it is than even I anticipated. Like I remember one where I wrote one event for the clarinet. It was a multiphonic, and there's a couple clarinet multiphonics that are very soft and very beautiful. But I couldn't have anticipated how striking both of these simultaneities would actually be. So you could hear both of them very clearly and actually quite loudly. And that, it was a fun moment of, that's way better than I was expecting. And I would have been satisfied with way less.
And you were just following your curiosity about it.
Yes. Yeah.
So it almost like an exploratory process.
Yeah.
It seems like for you, this philosophy of quiet, slow, boring, if you're saying that you respond to that as a listener, that it's almost like in line with a life philosophy? Or do you think that that's too far-reaching? Because I think that, and maybe it's because you're a composer and a performer, I think the idea of a personal expression is super expected in more popular genres of music, but it's not always necessarily that way in whatever umbrella genre you want to maybe, or that you're comfortable placing your music within.
Sure.
Experimental music, contemporary classical music, something. And is that, do you think that that's true, this kind of overarching personal expression or like personal aesthetic philosophy coming out in your work? Or do you see it contained, or does it matter?
Well, despite not having actually thought about this much, it's possible. I mean, certainly I feel that way about food. I feel that way about textiles and garments. Although what's coloring this, though, is I do like this word experimental because I don't think that has to mean anything in particular other than engaging in some sort of experiment that maybe you don't know where that's going to lead you or take you. I know there's this quote of Cage that's batted around a lot about, an experiment is just something you don't know the outcome of. I think we could be more specific even and just say that, if you're making up any sort of game or collection of things you're going to try, whether it's, making some culinary dish or having a suit made from a swatch that you are imagining the result of, or, writing a piece of music. To be experimenting seems crucial as a person. So, yes.
Where does the balance of control come in then in that process? Because I don't think of you as
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't see your work or again your life philosophy as super, laissez-faire, a loose sense of experimentation. So there does seem to be some element of care or carefulness or...
Here's a thought. This just came to me. Okay, so there's I believe he's Swedish, or is he Danish? I can't remember. Roy Andersson, he's a filmmaker.
Okay.
And in an interview once, he had this wonderful phrase about, I don't want to create a film that has a single indifferent frame. So,
Okay.
and I think what he means is that too often there are sequences in filmmaking where, the sort of gestalt effect of some moment supersedes the care and attentiveness to each frame. Well, what happens if you sort of adopt that, though, is you can only do less. So, I mean, if you're actually going to be concerned with every single frame, and let's use some very trite comparison. If I'm going to be caring about every single vertical moment or bar, I don't know.
Okay.
You have to write fewer bars. So, because if you're actually going to have considered every single thing, I'm sorry, I do not believe anyone who tells me that they've, written a 45-minute, highly complex work, that they could possibly have done that. And I say that as a person who believes strongly in an optimism of human psychology. But nonetheless, I don't think that's possible. So by doing way, way less and caring way, way more about the almost nothing, that might be.
So is that how you connect to, is that something that resonates?
So for example, I even think this shirt is chaos because this, there are indifferent things about the stitching in this thing here.
Okay.
And I think the pattern is inconsistent, actually, the more I look at it. But it's okay. No, you can't win all of these things. It's not about adhering to it like some sort of, fascistic
ideal.
Grit.
Or here's the other thing. So you're looking for the care, but it's more about that as a valuing each step and less about creating an ideal outcome.
Yes. God, I may even say that I don't care about the outcome. Like once I'm engaging in this thing, yes, something crystallizes and sort of condenses out of a collection of activities. But inevitably, you will have lost your way somewhere.
But that's fine if the intention was...
It has to be, because human beings can't be on all the time. So I may want to care about every single frame.
Right. Yeah. Or have that intention.
Right. But let's say, the piece is performed and I go, oh, the trombone there sucks. That was a catastrophe. What was
the part or the player?
It depends. So we'll cut it.
Actually, it's interesting that you bring that up in terms of the elements that arise from a live performance, even beyond the working through of a piece through musicians interpreting your work. Because this piece that you mentioned that was written for Timepoint in June, it was performed.
Correct. Yeah.
That there were elements in that performance that almost made it like a soundscape, environmental sound becoming part of the piece just due to the nature of the room and
the
nature
nature of very little happening in the music.
Exactly, and the proximity to a street that was loud. And how did you feel about that? Did you feel like that was, again, like a pleasant surprise, an interesting...
Absolutely. I love those sorts of moments. The woman who screams midway through that performance on the street, it feels like an appropriate musical choice almost. The buses that keep going by. Sure. I even think that the sound of the air conditioning, or was it a fan? I don't know. It creates a sort of drone the entire piece. And suddenly that becomes acoustically delicious. I don't know.
That's interesting because then it's almost like your piece was a framework or a grid.
For natural, yeah. And I guess once again, can't escape the Cage influence there, which...
Or at least the influence in how you interpreted that result.
Sure.
Right? Rather than seeing that as an invasion of your, of your creation and a disruption of your ideal presentation. You're being open to elements of change within that.
I think you have to be, especially when you're writing so little.
Right.
So
The more that you've had your work performed, is that something that then comes back at the start of a composition process to go, of course you can't go like, okay, I'll leave some space here so that I hope that a fan breaks down. Okay, gonna do that, and then maybe I'll add some space later.
But you know
maybe
what?
Someone will walk out. It might be maybe a seizure.
The truth is, I guarantee if I tried to do that,
Yeah.
it would fail.
It would be complete silence.
It would be complete silence.
It would be performed in a sealed room.
That's right. Well, we're actually going to perform this piece to no audience in an anechoic chamber. And
Yeah.
oh, damn it.
Yeah.
But that's very funny. Yes. I guess every time I go to start something new, honestly, the feeling that washes over is I could probably do less. I'm still forcing things too much. Yeah. So that might be misleading because that might sound like someday you'll sit there and say, I can't do anything. It's irresponsible. Too much movement. And of course, that actually is something I think about every day. But
see, then maybe if doing nothing, then there's no control, there's no value.
Right.
Like you said, I think maybe that's...
But there's something very enticing about demanding that certain people in a concert or performance setting listen to a single pitch.
Right. See, so there is that element of control.
Well, just because, honestly, if you try it, I think you might like it. Honestly, I swear to you, I'm enjoying this terribly. Listen to this. Don't listen to anything else. And there you have it. But of course, my choices would probably put other things in it too. I don't know. That's hard. But I guess honestly, it's like every time I go, I did way too much last time, or I could do the same amount, but it has to last twice as long, so that there's less happening next to each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the sorts of things that tend to start a new piece. Based on hearing the last one, I mean.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
no, a takeaway. And I want to ask you about interpreting your work, especially if we could go back to the same piece with Timepoint and this element of control and open to variables and how that fits in with musicians' interpretation of what you're writing.
I guess one thing to remember is that despite the fact that I will take a long time writing a piece, I, as a performer, improvise a lot.
Right.
And I respect the need, the requirement to have flexibility in a performance. So even if I'm writing something that may appear awfully specific in particular ways, I would be lying if I said that I must have those things. So I guess there's a threshold there. I mean, if you stand up there and play, I don't know, Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered instead of my piece and say it's, that would be weird.
That would be weird.
But
yeah, that would be weird.
I'm not sure I would feel the same way about that. But I mean, let's say you speed through a section on purpose because the moment demands it. How could I realistically have a problem with that? I might say that I like it slower, but that's taste, and who cares?
Right. Interesting. So it's not so wide open that it's a suggestion. You're still using conventional notation and
largely
clear rhythms.
Actually, I'm very surprised about the fact that I do resist, and actually I tend not to like the result of using graphic notation or
for your own music, or
yeah. It feels disingenuous because usually there is some idea that feels easier to convey with counting.
Yeah, it's not so abstract or
right. And I am telling you what pitches usually, and even maybe how to play it. For reasons I've thought considerably about, but
was there much editing in that one in the work that was premiered in June through the rehearsal process?
No. I think we dropped 2 notes, or maybe.
But that's
3.
a lot in your work.
Yeah. Well, it is because even though that piece has so little in it, it took me about 2 months to write. Yeah. So, which is fine. I like that because I don't want to move on to the next thing until I'm pretty sure. So then, when it is at rehearsal, although it does amuse me because usually, the ensemble looks to me occasionally like, really, that's it. That's gonna be the thing, because okay, but yeah, that's the thing. Now do nothing else. Sit in
Do
there.
less?
Yeah.
Just do less.
Just or it's like the Feldman quote. I love when he goes to hear I forget which piece. I think it was one of the last ones. Violin, viola, cello, piano, which is a thing he wrote in 86, 7 before he died. But he goes to the rehearsal, and all he has to say is, "It's still too fucking loud." and I think, that's pretty much all I ever have to say. It's just, we could do way less volume. Yeah.
You should just write that in your pieces. And it's like you being there for the rehearsal process.
Yes, this is probably what I will say.
You're already playing too
hand
loud.
these cards out at the rehearsal.
It's already too much.
You reading it is too loud. Yeah.
Your eye movements.
Yeah, calm that down, please. Please stop it.
Please stop it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you from wherever I am. Yeah.
Wonderful. Good.
Good. Okay.
Very good.
All right.
I've learned a lot.
Oh, I'm glad. Yes.
Sounded strangely antagonistic, but
Yeah, it did. We'll see.
okay.
So we're done then.
I think so.
Okay. All right.
You're angry? If you wanted less, I think that was good.
No, I think it's.